Good evening. Bruce Thomas Howes, guilty of murdering his two stepchildren, stabbing them to death as they slept in their beds in Masterton. Salil Aplin, aged 12 years old. Olympia Jetson, aged 11 years old. Sisters. We'll focus our attention tonight on them. The story begins almost exactly a year ago when Charlene Aplin picked up the phone and dialed 111. Charlene Aplin has spoken publicly now for the first time to Maramina Roderick.
Hello, police emergency.
Yes, hi, this is Charlene Aplin. I live at 52 Kippenberger Street. My partner's been attacked and I've just woken up. He's just woken me up. There's a noise at the back. He doesn't know what it is, but he's really bleeding everywhere.
Is he being assaulted by someone or what?
Yeah, I'm a bit worried because my children are outside. He said someone's outside.
I failed my girls. My job was to protect them. I was their mother. And I didn't. And I have to live with that for the rest of my life.
Hello? Yep. So I need to know what these guys are wearing and what they look like.
Okay, one was wearing a dark hoodie sweatshirt thing.
Yep.
And I think I might have ripped it. And I held on to him because he was kicking the out of me.
Yep.
The other guy just ripped hold of my hair.
Yeah, what was he wearing? What did he look like? Maori, Polynesian, Caucasian, what?
He was a Maori guy, sort of like a Samoan Polynesian.
Were they all dark-skinned?
Yeah, dark-skinned.
His wounds were superficial. He beat himself up. His story of being attacked by 4 to 6 men, a lie. It was Bruce Howes' hands that murdered 2 children in their beds. His mind that turned to framing their mum.
This will be the first and the only time I will speak out publicly. And I'm only doing this for my babies, to give them the dignity and the respect that they deserve. They're children. They're the victims. He's not.
12-year-old Salil, 11-year-old Olympia, still side by side. Their ashes now rest in a small box at home. Their school song played at their funeral. They used to sing it together.
The words sum up my 2 girls, going to a better place, to a nicer place.
Home wasn't the white picket fence dream. Charlene Aplin was a solo mum with 4 children at home when Bruce Howes entered their lives 8 years ago. Salil was her second eldest, a stunner. But in the last 2 years, Salil became angry, suspended from school, smoking and needing counselling. Olympia could also be a handful, not always truthful, and suffered terrible nightmares. But that was the bad side magnified. And for Charlene Aplin, the worst part of trial.
People have made judgments on my girls and I didn't know them. I feel that sometimes it's like my children were on trial and it's not them. They didn't ask for this. They didn't ask for this at all, and they're definitely not the ones on trial.
Salil was loyal, the protector for all her siblings. Olympia was a writer, singer, who dreamed of better things. Their home reality, however, was a nightmare. Mum's relationship with Howes, good at the start, had slowly disintegrated over the last 4 years. By October last year, they were arguing every day. The trial heard how he hit and verbally abused Charlene and her children.
He tormented my babies and then he murdered them.
How the couple separated again and again. In 1998, Charlene Aplin got a protection order against Howes. She says he ignored it, that it became easier to let him stay, and that was a fatal error.
Actually, I wouldn't really call it a relationship. It was what you'd call a habit.
Why didn't you just leave him?
You couldn't kick Bruce out. I tried before. He wouldn't leave.
He threatened to kill your children and you. Surely that's enough to get him out of your lives.
It's not enough. It won't stop him. Police can't stop him. I had a court order. I had a protection order against me and my children. That didn't stop him. A lot of good the protection order did. Where are my girls now? He will still come back.
4 months before the murders, Olympia accused Howes of sexual abuse. She then recanted, but SIF's Child, Youth and Family gained a copy of her diary detailing her abuse claims. Those claims have never been proven in a court of law. SIF's decided there was no real urgency, sent a letter to Charlene saying only there was new information. SIF's sent the letter to Kippenberger Street, the same address where Howes, the alleged abuser, lived. Howes intercepted it. Charlene spoke to SIF's on December 3rd. Howes killed the girls that very night. SIF's has begun an independent review into how it handled the case.
Do I think they could have handled it different? Yes.
We were devastated by what has happened. We want to listen to Charlene and we want to get this case review completed because we want to look at whether or not things could have been done differently. The social worker who at the time was working closely with Charlene and Olympia and Salil, she at her own request transferred to other duties shortly after the deaths. The social workers in that office were devastated by what had happened. She's now on special leave because I imagine you can understand that this is a very difficult time for her.
What is special leave?
She's on leave with pay in view of the circumstances in order that she is able to manage the impact of this kind of media scrutiny on her.
I put it to you, obviously, it could have been done differently. 2 little girls are dead.
Bruce Howes killed those girls, and we will find out in our case review if there's anything that we could have done differently that might have prevented that.
Is it common practice for letters of that kind to be sent to a home where the alleged abuser lives?
The letter was a very general letter, and we often have to leave notes for our clients. We try and find them during the day. If they're not home, we'll leave a wee note for them saying we need them to ring us, and that's what happened in this case.
Surely a personal visit would be safer.
And that is exactly what the case review will tell us. It will tell us what happened, when it happened, and why it happened, and whether there was something that should have been done differently.
In the meantime, however, 2 little girls are dead.
Yes. Yes, that's right.
Why have we got agencies there that are supposed to be representing children when they don't do their jobs? I question, well, why have we got them?
But did you do your job as a mother?
I don't think I did. If I'd done my job, my babies would still be here. I failed my children. My job was to protect them, and I didn't. I have to live with it. Could I change it in an instant? I wish. Do I wish it was me instead of them? Every day.
Howes knew SIFS was onto him. Hours before the murders, Salil confronted him.
She told him that he had better shut up or she would tell.
That night, Charlene and 3 children slept inside while Howes stayed up to fix the kitchen pantry doors. Olympia and Salil were in the shed, the doorways to their rooms directly opposite each other. Olympia's room was on the left, Salil's was on the right. In the dark, Howes walked out to the shed holding a kitchen knife.
I then just closed my eyes and struck the knife out, and I think it stabbed Salil.
The stab wound to Salil went in through her chest and passed right through her body and emerged out of her back.
No matter how bad your child's been during that day, doesn't matter. When they're asleep, that is when they're most perfect. They can do no wrong. That is the one time they are perfect, is when they're asleep. I do not know how anyone can take a child's life, especially when they're asleep.
I stood beside Olympia's bed. I done the same thing, or I think I've done the same thing to Olympia, closed my eyes and just struck out the knife.
The shed isn't here anymore. The family destroyed it. And Charlene and the kids never come out here after dark. But footprints and blood revealed the girl's final moments. Olympia made it across from her room to Salil's. She saw her sister. Her blood was found on Salil, who had collapsed on the floor. Olympia then made it back to her room. Her body was found kneeling beside her bed as if she was praying. Forensic evidence revealed it took between 30 minutes and 2 hours for Olympia to die. She could have raised the alarm, gone for help. Something stopped her.
My baby would get a cut and she'd come running. My family and I feel that he was still there and he stopped her. It hurts knowing that she saw Salil. It hurts being so close and yet she was alone. That is what I can't handle.
Salil, forensic evidence revealed, died within 10 minutes. Traces of semen were later found on her bed sheets. It was 3 million times more likely to come from Holmes than any other male.
I'm just so sorry that I've hurt these children. Oh. I never meant to do it. I'm so sorry. I'm asking for forgiveness from Salil, from Olympia. If there's some way that I could tell them now that I still love them, and for them to hear me say this and ask them to forgive me. I just want all this stuff to stop in my head.
You're gonna find out
Bruce Howes claimed to hear voices in his head. After confessing, the voices were very real.
Brucey, hear my voice. You're mine, buddy.
The writing was on the wall, but Howes was about to hatch a new plot.
And when we come back, this extraordinary new plot, the extraordinary story of Bruce Thomas Howes and his desperate attempt to save his own skin by blaming and framing Charlene Epplin. That's in a few minutes.
She turned around and said to me, "She killed the kids." And I said, "What?" She says, "I've killed the kids."
He is the most cruelest, vicious, evil, vindictive person I ever know.
Further with the matter of Bruce Howes, the stepfather who murdered those two beautiful little girls in their beds, 12-year-old Salil, 11-year-old Olympia. He was a tricky one, Howes. First he confessed, and then he changed his mind and he tried to blame Charlene Epplin, the girl's mum. Well, tonight Charlene is speaking to us for the first time, speaking publicly for the first time. It's been a year for her, a year since her girls were killed in their sleep out in Masterton, a year since Bruce Howes lost his job, found himself being accused of sexual abuse, and then that night took to the girls with the knife. And it's been a year also since he tried to pin their murders on their mother. This again from Maramena Roderick.
Bruce Howes asked to be forgiven. That plea was soon forgotten. 6 days after confessing, he returned to Masterton Police Station.
Just come through, Bruce. This is the video interview room. Grab a seat over there.
He had a completely new story for Detective Brendan Mears.
Just going to set the machine going and we'll conduct the interview on video here today.
This was Howes' third version of events. The first, that he was beaten. The second, that he did it, but the third would turn the knife on Charlene Applin. That mother was murderer.
And she turned around and said to me that she killed the kids. And I said, what? She says, I've killed the kids. And I said, no, you haven't. You're bullshitting to me. And she goes, yes, I have, hon. I've killed the kids. I'm going to put up with no more of this shit. Nothing anymore. And I said, no, go back to sleep. I said, no, you haven't. I was really blown away with what she said to me. Because now, 2 kids dead, and I didn't believe her. And it may have been something I could have done.
Yeah. Had she said which kids were dead?
She just said, I've killed the 2. I've killed the kids. Yeah. And I didn't believe her, you know.
So she hadn't said how many of the kids?
No, she just said
been killed.
I've killed the kids.
Okay.
She never said which ones, how many, or who, or where.
He is the most cruelest, vicious, evil, vindictive person I ever know.
I know they're not my 2 daughters, but I've been there for them. I've brought them up. I've given them a lot of things. I've looked after them. I treated them as my 2 children.
You've got 2 babies to Bruce Howes. What are you ever going to tell them about their father?
I dread that day. I dread the day of having to tell them why their sisters ain't here and that it was their father. I don't want to do it, but I know one day I have to, because it has to come from me.
This week marked the 1st anniversary of the girls' deaths. Charlene and her family still live there. He is still their tormentor.
He owns half the house. It's under both our names.
With him in prison, can't you sell it?
No. I need his consent. I feel that we can't get away from him. He's in our lives 24/7. And how do you tell your children you're safe when you can't feel safe yourself?
Because tonight, Holmes can reveal what the jury never heard. In April this year, while awaiting trial in prison, he claimed to have received a handwritten note from Charlene, but his mail had already been security checked. The letter was another lie.
Dear Bruce, well, how are you? It's been hard for me. I can't sleep at night. I'm sorry you had to take the blame for me, but I'm going to see someone. I wanted to tell them before that I'd done it. I will give you the I told you to take the blame, but you know why, and I'm sorry. I still love you, but take care of our girls. I know you didn't touch the girls. I told them to say it long ago. I am sorry.
My children don't get it tomorrow. We don't get to see them go to college. We don't get to see them go to intermediate. We don't get them to turn 16, 21, get married, turn into whoever they were going to be.
May the sun shine warm upon your face, and may the rain fall soft upon your fields.
When this is over, it might have died down for the public, but it's not dead for us. We still got to try and get ourselves right. We got to live with this. It's not a movie, it's not a story, this is our lives. How do we live it? I have no idea. We just take it one day at a time.
May God hold you in the palm of his hand.
So, how may we start to keep our children safe? Well, some thoughts on that in a few minutes. Well, nobody disputes that child abuse is intolerable, despicable. Our statistics are appalling. Salil and Olympia were murdered, of course, as we've seen, in their beds, and their killer, their stepfather, has been convicted of their killing. Charlene agreed to speak to us tonight because she wants to give, as she says, she wants to give her children dignity, and because she wants other people to listen to her message: do not accept abuse of any kind, do not put children in danger. And what danger we present in New Zealand. In the year ending June 2002, that's in the year up to the end of June this year, Child, Youth and Family managed 27,500 notifications of child abuse, neglect and welfare. That's well over 5,000 notifications a month. In their investigations, they found more than 1,200 cases of sexual abuse. They found 2,000 cases of physical abuse and more than 2,000 cases of emotional abuse. There may be kids, these kids, they may be the kids living on your street annoying you. They may be living next door, perhaps they are your own children in your own home. Well, there are people who can help, and these people are listed on page 4 of your telephone book. They include the Child Abuse Prevention Service. For them you call 0800 228 737 or 0800 Abuse Prevent. And that is a 24-hour number. You could call Women's Refuge. That's under W in the white pages, and it offers support and safe houses 24 hours right around the country. You could look at Stopping Violence Services. That's under S in the white pages, got nationwide offices working with families, protecting children from violence. So plenty of options there if you think something is going on near to you. Those were our people today. That's Holmes Tonight.
One News Update, proudly brought to you by the bank that's one step ahead, ASB Bank.
Good evening. Questions are being asked tonight about the role of Child, Youth and Family after a Masterton man was found guilty of murdering his 2 stepdaughters. Social workers had been dealing with the girls for more than a decade. Emergency services in Australia fear the worst tonight, with strong winds predicted to fan bushfires surrounding Sydney. Jonah Lomu shows his scars after a career-saving operation, and our homegrown acting talent set to shine in the next Lord of the Rings instalment. That's One News Late Edition tonight at 10:25.
Goldstein, what's the bottom line on their home loan rates?
It's home loan criteria apply.
I've employed an idiot.
Yes, sir.
You'll recognize her from countless film and television shows. You loved her as Mrs. Madrigal, Clary Belcher and Rose Castorini. She's Olympia Dukakis and so Graham Norton tonight on One.